Okay.
But now what happens if she walks in and you've put it on and off 17 times? You're like, yeah, shit, I really look cool in this jacket. She walks in, she's like, mm.
Why did you buy that? Why did you buy that? What were you thinking?
I'm not sure. Now you're like, damn, I've worn it twice already. Or can I take it back?
That was a terrible decision. All right, we are live.
Cool.
I don't think we need a big introduction again. I think we've had enough episodes with that. So we'll just crack straight on. Must be early in the morning for you, Nicola.
Yeah, very. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's just dark. So
really?
when when it's dark in the morning, you think it's earlier than it is.
Yeah. So it'll be coming to, I suppose it'll be coming to winter in SA, eh? Almost.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's coming towards the end of April. So for sure. I think what's the longest day, shortest day? June.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think it's like the 21st of June.
Longest day in South Africa.
Shortest. The shortest day.
Shortest day in South Africa. Let's check.
21st of June. Yeah, correct.
Yep, that's it. Nailed
Next
it.
question.
Great. Okay, cool.
Do I win anything, like a cash prize?
All right. Okay, guys. So in today's episode, guys, we're going to dive into decision making and why it's important, and if there's like a framework, or I've got lots of questions. And the reason why is because I woke up this morning, and I usually get up early, but there are occasional days where I get up and I'm like, I can't be asked to do anything right now. So this morning I got up and I actually woke up, my body clock woke me up, but I got up and I was supposed to go cycle. I did end up going cycling. However, it took me half an hour. I lay on the couch. So I actually put all my kit on. I was ready to go. I had a little bit of breakfast, some oats, and then I lay back down on the couch for like another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? Am I going to do it? Am I not? And I kept on playing the scenario over in my head and asking myself, am I going to do it? Decision making. Yeah. And thankfully, I did get up and I did it. And you always feel better for it once you do. But I want to know what's going on there, like in your head. Why are we, cycling, getting up early, first of all, and then obviously having to put yourself through some exercise is obviously a daunting task for most people. But the rewards are huge. So what's going on there in the mind or in the brain when it comes to those sort of decisions?
The experts, and I'm only going to quote two. So the one is Anthony Robbins, and he's, you could say, more popular psychology. He didn't formally study psychology, but he spent a lifetime studying human behavior. So he's right up there with the top boys. And the other is something called neuro-linguistic programming. And that was developed by two psychologists, Richard Bandler and John Grinder. Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who also worked with I think it was a child psychologist. And what they noticed was, so basically, Anthony Robbins would talk about pain and pleasure. And in neuropsychology, they talk about programming. So neuro-linguistic programming is neuro, the mind, linguistics, language, programming. So there are many aspects to it, and I'm definitely not the expert, but it's almost as if, what message are you giving yourself? What are you telling yourself? What's on your mind? What questions do you ask?
Yeah.
Anthony Robbins sort of took NLP down his own path and developed something called neuroassociative conditioning. Basically the same thing, but in his own field and researched perhaps somewhat differently. But in his world, he talks about pain and pleasure. And he said, generally, we will do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. So what you associate pain with, getting out of bed, getting cold, having tired legs,
Yep.
all that effort,
All of the above.
if that is greater than the feeling you get after riding your bike, then the
And you,
chances are you will avoid it.
I see. Okay. However, I mean, it's also that endorphin rush, though. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I work out, and it's not more than the endorphin high, but I do it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah,
you're
but
doing it because you've got a self-concept. So there was a wonderful book written called Cybernetics, which I think I read it years ago, and you can actually download it. And this was written by a plastic surgeon. Can you believe it? So Cybernetics is written by a plastic surgeon, and he talks about self-concept. And he was sort of fascinated how people would come and want all this surgery done. But he said they needed more surgery on their minds than they did on their face. Maxwell Maltz, that's his name. He's a medical doctor. Really interesting read. And what he's proposing is that you can change your concept of yourself at any age by redefining who you want to be. And a lot of that, interestingly, has a direct relationship with what we call self-talk, the message you give yourself. But your decision making is very personal. So if you value health and fitness, and often the addiction is adrenaline, not endorphins.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Endorphins is a high you get. You go, oh, gee, I feel amazing. But you can get an endorphin by ticking something off on a to-do list. But
Oh,
the addiction
interesting.
to, not alcohol, the addiction to movement, probably
Okay.
me, the
Yeah.
addiction to movement is often, I think, more associated with adrenaline. Because
Okay.
adrenaline, you hear about people called adrenaline junkies and adventure
Yeah.
sports people. They jump off mountains and climb to the top of
That's
things.
a bit extreme for me, but yeah.
Yeah. But that's what happens as well, is the further you go, the further you want to. The longer you live, the longer you want to.
Okay.
So if you do a 50K ride on your bike, you want to say, well, I wonder if I can do 60Ks.
Yeah.
And if you do 60Ks, it's like, well, I wonder if I can do 100. And if you do 100, it's like, I wonder if I can do 100 miler, which is like almost 200.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can do a stage race. And then, so you keep edging out because that's the feeling of growth that you get.
Yeah. Okay.
But what
Those
you're
are awesome.
referencing, Nick, is a personal decision to move your butt in the morning.
Yeah, because I feel like if there's days, like if it goes 2 days without exercise, I go crazy. I have to do something. I have to
Well,
move. I have to.
change that language maybe and say, I want to.
No, but I mean, I do. That's what I mean. I want to do something,
Okay.
and
It's
not that
different.
I have to. Yeah, I actually want to get up and do some exercise,
Yeah.
but for me, it's just because I just want to. I love that, like you said. What you said, it's an adrenaline high, but I thought it was always endorphins that you get afterwards. That feeling, when you finish a workout.
It's both. There is endorphins for sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's not to say it's not with endorphins, but you can get endorphins by sitting on your butt and going through your to-do list.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the
But you don't
dopamine
get an
high that you spoke
adrenaline
about.
high.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, you
That's
might. It
interesting.
depends what's on that to-do list.
That's interesting because like, and this is I've seen a few people that I've encountered in my life who were somewhat forced, well, not really forced, but kind of during school, not forced, but really strongly encouraged to pursue like heavy exercises, like you were talking about, cycling 100Ks, like training for Ironmans and stuff like that, when they were
Yeah,
like 18. And
that's
now
crazy.
I know. Well, like maybe not so much
Bit young.
Ironmans, maybe half an Ironman, but you know what I mean?
Okay,
Like a
fine.
bit extreme
Yeah.
for a teenager.
Uh-huh.
And now they don't do any exercise at all because
Yeah.
they just don't want to. It's almost like
Uh-huh.
they were rinsed when they were teenagers, and now they're just like, I'm so sick of it. I don't want to do it anymore. However, in my case, I've always just exercised when I wanted to, and I'm still doing the same thing today. And I will probably continue to exercise for the rest of my life because I just love doing it. So is that also down to a personal decision, or do you think that's because they were forced to do it when they were younger, now they're just like, oh, and not, maybe they've attached like a negative connotation to it in their mind.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's
Exactly.
the case?
So you lying on the couch this morning was a negative connotation, but you've also got a circle of friends that are competitive. They keep moving. So you become the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with. So I don't have a circle of friends that move. Well, I do, but not close to me, as in they're not in my circle, my inner circle. A lot of my inner circle are people who perhaps would do yoga or Pilates or something like that. I like moving. So for me to get on my bike, I need to have a lot of self-motivation because I'm not meeting someone. If you're going to get on your bike and meet someone and you've got a sense of obligation, which is that whole conversation we had about habit, you're going to be much more likely to get up and do it.
But I didn't have anyone this morning. That was just purely me.
Well, then you decided. You made a decision
cool.
to move your bike. Well done.
Okay. So in a decision, in any decision-making process, what are the critical elements that come into play when we're looking at decision-making?
So in essence, first of all, I want to go back a step in terms of decision-making. My belief, and there are many types of decisions, but my belief that a lot of your decisions are either transactional or strategic. So a transactional decision, you said without even thinking, I had some oats. So you made a decision to eat something and you made a decision to have oats. And you weren't lying on the sofa agonizing about eating your oats.
Absolutely not. It was chocolate protein in there. It was delicious.
There you go. So oats were you just did it because you've done it before. You know that you like it. It satisfies you in some way. You get the protein hit that you need for, I don't know, for your exercise. You've got a nice slow releasing carb or whatever it is, and it gives you some stamina and off you go. Just don't have a big glass of water because you might have to stop for the loo halfway back. True story. Okay, so that's another decision. It's like, I'm going to eat oats, but I'm not going to overdrink water because I know what the consequences are. So, but you made those probably without too much agony. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now imagine being a person that is, so riding your bike and having exercise for you is a big part of your life. Imagine a person that is a chef or whose passion is food. I bet you they've either thought about breakfast the night before or they're lying on the sofa going, should I put chocolate protein in my oats or should I put, raspberry coulis? The decision-making process is different. But so the one type of decision it's operational, it's transactional. You've done it before. You kind of can predict the outcome. You're satisfied in some way. And you can almost say, I knew what I wanted. I feel like I know, even if you don't know, but you think you know.
Yeah.
The other kind of decision is more strategic. And what really happens with a strategic decision is a choice to go in any one direction results in a loss of opportunity somewhere else. Okay, so you can't ride your bike and relax at the same time.
Yep.
Well, you can actually. That's not true. I get a lot of relaxation if I could get fit enough to enjoy riding my bike. This is quite hilly where we are.
Different example. You can't ride your bike and eat chocolate oats at the same time.
Well, you can't.
Well, you can.
you can't lie on the sofa and ride your bike at the same time.
That's a better example.
And you won't know until after you've done it if it was the right decision or not. So actually, you only knew it was the right decision after you'd ridden your bike. But if you'd lay on the sofa and put on, I don't know, the news, you might have been stimulated to come up with an amazing idea for a brand new business that motivated you to change your life and go in a different direction. But you don't know that because you didn't stay on the sofa, you got on your bike.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have done both concurrently. So those are what I call strategic decisions.
I see.
where the choice to go in any one direction results in a loss of opportunity somewhere else.
Yeah, it's like the opportunity cost. But the thing is you were talking about basically the first one that you're talking about, how it's pretty much becomes a habit. Your decisions become a habit. Like, for me this morning, I know that if I don't get up and get moving and get out, I'm always regretful of it later on in the day because I just don't feel energized. So that was the reason for me, really.
Okay.
That's what got me off the couch this morning.
So your pain point was regret, not the sofa.
Really, well, not so
So
much regret. Yeah, I would
well,
regret.
then you're not telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If you're saying, I'm going to regret not doing this, and regret is painful for you, you'll get up and do it.
Yeah.
But there are days when you just feel obliged. You feel obligated because maybe if you don't do it, you're going to lose fitness, which means you can't keep up with your friends at the weekend.
There are days like that for sure.
So, and if you're competitive, you won't want to lose. So, or you don't just want to keep up with them, you want to beat them. And if you want to beat them, you'll train harder to get the result that you want.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe you're vain. Maybe you just want to look good. And you say, if I don't ride my bike and pick up muscle weights or whatever, I'm not going to look good. And if I don't look good, I'm not going to be accepted in society. And if I'm not accepted in society, I'm going to be miserable. And there's all sorts of driving factors.
Yeah. Oh, there's not just one. Okay. So now I was actually going to touch on what you were talking about, the fork in the road, like with strategic decisions. And say you're put in a situation where now you have to make a decision now, but you don't have all of the information to make the decision. What's the best thing to do? Do people often say, follow your gut, stick to your gut? Is that always the best route?
Well, there's a great model that was developed by someone called Ned Herman, and he developed a tool. He was a scientist and an artist, and he was fascinated by himself because he said, how come a scientist can also be an artist? Because isn't this sort of left brain, right brain? It was in the days of left brain, right brain, and left brain's analytical and logical, and right brain's sort of conceptual, creative. So he used to wire his kids up and do experiments. So he'd put like anodes all over their heads and give them things to do. And he developed a model called the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument, HBDI. I think it's hbdi.com. And I believe his daughter runs it today. And it's a brilliant tool for helping you understand how you approach life, the sequence that you go through to do things like make decisions. And what he did is he said, well, you haven't just got left and right brain, you've also got cerebral and limbic. So it's like top and bottom. So you can imagine a circle now cut into 4. And the top half is left and right. And so the left brain is what he calls more analytical, and the right brain is more conceptual or strategic. But that's what they call the cerebral brain or the cerebral brain. And that's much more rational. It's responsible for rational thinking.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
The bottom half of the circle is again left and right, but this is called the limbic brain, and it's much more intuitive. And that part of your brain actually wraps around, or I don't know if it wraps around or it's the other way around. Your spinal cord goes in to that part of your brain. So your entire nervous system enters your cop through the limbic brain.
Okay.
It's very primitive. So it's believed to be the most primitive part of the brain.
I see.
The limbic brain is much more, let's say, emotional and intuitive.
Would that be your
gut? So that means yes.
Okay.
And you could argue that it is gut because that's actually where it all ends up.
Yeah.
But I'm going to come back to gut now because I'm going somewhere here.
Okay.
So the bottom half of your brain, the left side is order, structure, and sort of getting things done, action. And the right side is personal and intuitive, which is what you're referencing now, instinct. But it's also quite musical, which is very sensory, if you think about it like that. Now, it's a long time since I worked with this tool, like 20 years ago. But The right brain, when it comes to decision making, is very interesting. You can make decisions based on experience, which is left brain, and it's fairly cerebral, meaning that it's rational.
Yeah.
Okay. You can also make decisions based on intuition, which is gut, right brain. So if your preference is for information and analysis, you will search for more information to justify your decision. You need more information. The challenge with that is it becomes analysis paralysis, because you'll probably never have enough information. So the poor people who are high analytic with the internet today, it must drive them nuts, because you've got more access to information than you ever had before.
Yeah.
And now you'll just keep searching, and you'll end up on 10 pages of Google searches looking for the piece of information that helps you understand what you're trying to do. Or you go off to Decisions Inc. and you find some algorithm to help you figure out the data, and then it decides for you, basically. Gut is more interesting in some ways, because gut is harder to explain.
Yeah. So the next question I was actually going to ask you, which you've kind of half answered, but I was going to say, is it better to make decisions in a group or by yourself? And I suppose that depends on the decision. But the reason why I'm asking is because, say, for example, I want to buy a jacket, and I like this jacket in a shop, but I'm not sure. I'm in Oregon. I don't know if I should actually buy this jacket. And now what you've just said and how you've described how the brain works in kind of like a scientific way, maybe I'll ask my girlfriend, should I buy this jacket? And I want approval from her. And I believe I don't have all the information yet, because I want to know what she thinks. If it'll look nice, I want to know if it'll look nice, at this event or that event, or if I wear it somewhere else. So that would be making a decision as a group or as a pair rather than an individual decision. So what is better, to make a decision as a group or as an individual?
So what most people don't want is to be wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong. Everybody hates being wrong. And if you keep pointing out to someone how wrong they are, they'll just become more wrong in your life, period. So if you don't want to be wrong, you need someone to affirm that you're right. So when we make decisions for ourselves, we'll often go and seek counsel of others, friends, girlfriends, family members, professors, colleagues, and we ask them, what do you think? Now, that's great, and it works really well if, like, your girlfriend comes back and says, gee, Nick, that's a really great jacket. I think it looks great on you. And you're like, do you think so? And you go, yeah. And it's like, I thought, yeah. So she's affirmed something, and you're like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you feel better because someone else said you're making the right decision.
Okay.
But now what happens if she walks in and you've put it on and off 17 times? You're like, yeah, shit, I really look cool in this jacket. She walks in, she's like, Why
did you buy that? Why did you buy that? What were you thinking?
I'm not sure. And now you're like, damn, I've worn it twice already. Or can I take it back?
That was a terrible decision.
Yeah, that you see, now immediately you were completely fine with your decision until someone disapproved.
Yeah.
So we do so much in life to seek approval. And yet we spend a lot of time giving disapproval. So actually, what most people want in their personal lives is to be approved of, for someone to endorse you, to someone to say, great idea, good decision. So, and oftentimes we're not trained, we're not taught how to make decisions for ourselves. But the more decisions you make for yourself that are repeated, you build up experience and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And experience and confidence allows you to make decisions quickly.
Funny
Sometimes with hubris. So traders make very big decisions to trade stocks, and it's often fueled with testosterone. And sometimes they make bad decisions.
Yeah.
But that high stakes, high risk thing is governed by a combination of experience, confidence, sometimes hubris, arrogance. And look at Elon Musk at the moment. It's fascinating.
I know, buying Twitter.
I think he bought Twitter.
Yeah, he did. He just bought
I
Twitter.
saw that. I'm not going to comment. Those are big decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to wonder what drives his decision-making process. That's a whole study on its own. But that's a massive decision.
Yeah. The last question I'm going to ask you today, Nicola, is basically for people who want to make the right decision when they're doing the umming and the ahhing and they're not quite sure what to do. Is there like a framework or some sort of, step-by-step process they can go through to make the correct decision?
There are decision-making processes. You can go through rational decision-making or analytical decision-making. And you could put / problem solving, because a decision exists in your mind. It doesn't mean anything until you act on it. You decide to ride your bike, you don't move. Is that a decision? I can say I decided to ride my bike, but until I get on my bike, the decision is just in your head. It means nothing until it's implemented. Okay. So then it's the movement to action that's so important. So the motivation to act has to change. So one way to do it is intuitively size up the prize. You're in the shop, you're going to buy that jacket, impulse buying, decision making on the fly, all intuition. More analytical decision making might be, I've got an event to go to. What do I wear? How much can I afford? Where is the best place to buy what I want to wear? Is it an evening function? Is it a day function? Do I need a hat and heels, or do I need a short skirt and a jacket? What's the protocol? So in that situation, you gather information, you analyze. You've obviously got to know what you're trying to do, have an objective. So you would gather information, analyze the information, weigh up, identify what the options are, weigh up the options against things like budget, weather, whatever those conditions are. Then you would go out and source whatever you're going to wear for your function. So one is much more analytical and one is much more intuitive. What businesses tend to prefer is analytical. What almost everybody does, and not everyone likes it when I say this, is they make a decision in their gut and they search for enough information to validate their intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think you're wrong if you think you're right and think you're wrong, on both accounts, you can be right.
Yeah, because you believe you create a scenario, or you source enough information in your brain to make it okay.
Now, there are great people out there that will fundamentally disagree with what I've just said. And I've tested it so many times in a client environment. And the role that your gut plays in decision-making is fascinating. And I believe, this is somewhat deductive by observation, it's qualitative, not quantitative. I believe that we make intuitive decisions and then seek to validate them.
I agree with you.
And what most of us don't do is trust our gut. Because in trusting our gut, we might end up making the less popular decision.
Yeah. Anyways, let's end on that. Right,
Okay.
Nicola, thank you very much for the podcast
Nick.
today. It was a great
Pleasure.
conversation, and we'll see
Cool.
you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
For more news and content about ThinkerNick, go to www.thinkernick.com or visit our Facebook or Instagram pages @ThinkerNick.